Good evening, everyone. This is Divya Jain from BioAngels, and I welcome you to the fifth session of the Biotech and Health Tech Angel Investment Masterclass. This is a series of six masterclasses by industry leaders to help you understand the angel investing in biotech and health tech sectors. These sessions will help to speed up on the dynamics of angel investing ecosystem and emerging practices with the help of trusted experts and curated content as you take the plunge into the world of investment. To introduce you with BioAngels, it is a unique partnership between BIRAC, an enterprise of Department of Biotechnology, and Indian Angel Network, India's single largest horizontal platform for seed and early stage investing. BioAngels is India's first sector focused angel investor group in biotech, health tech, medtech, pharma, clean tech, and agri-tech sectors, and this brings money, mentoring, and market access to startups, echoing IAN's genetics. It brings a heady mix of private investor groups, driving the investment process along with the access to domain and technology experts embedded in the government ecosystem through BIRAC. Through this masterclass, we also invite investors to join BioAngels and discover and get early access to a pool of high potential startups in these sectors, witnessing exponential growth. Moving on to today's topic, the investor perspective on valuation and deal structuring. Structuring the deal is a key aspect of completing an angel round of financing. It is critical to ensuring that management, employees, past investors, current investors, and future investors are all satisfied with the company. Understand how to and how not to assess valuation in biotech, health tech, medtech startups in order to make the right investment decision. It is essential for angel investors to understand this aspect. Today, we have with us a seasoned angel investor who has been actively investing in biotech and health tech space and will be sharing his perspective on angel investing and valuations of deals. Today, we are joined by Mr. Uday Chatterjee. Mr. Uday Chatterjee is a seasoned angel investor with a focus on biotech, agri-tech, and ESG sectors and is involved in mentoring some promising startups in this space. Completing his master's in business administration from Faculty of Management Studies, FMS, in 1973, Mr. Chatterjee started his career at Tata Group's Indian Hotels Company in Mumbai and Delhi and his entrepreneurial journey with hotels and airline industry. In early 2000, he began to develop an interest in early stage investment with focus on the nascent biotech startups in the US and later developed a deep interest in newly evolving embryonic stem cell technology and had association with several early pioneers like Geron Corporation, Decode Genetics, which did pioneering work in genomics, later acquired by Amgen, and many other next generation biotech companies working in age related diseases and longevity. He currently mentors few promising biotech companies working in predictive genetic testing, digital platforms for testing neurovirulence and neurotoxicity, and a company conducting phase 1 clinical trial for tropical application of vitiligo. I welcome you, Uday sir, for joining us today for this masterclass.
Thank you, Divya, and good evening, friends. Uh, Thank you for joining and showing such great interest. I'm really impressed by the number of people who are here already so early in the evening. And I would presume that the audience today is a mix of both startup promoters, um, also those who wish to be future startup promoters, and also equal number of investors who are keen to explore the opportunities in the biotech, agri-tech, clean tech domains. Now, before I kind of uh, move into the sort of subject of the day, let me first thank BIRAC, who's a partner in this BioAngels initiative, along with Indian Angel Network. And I must make a statement that whatever the Indian biotech and related spaces, including agri-tech, etc., whatever they have achieved, to a large measure, it has been because of a lot of proactive support that they have received from BIRAC. So I think this BioAngels is an excellent initiative where they have come to participate alongside Indian Angel Network. And I think this initiative, BioAngels, will help grow this biotech, agri-tech, these verticals to its true potential. So I'm here, my sort of primary interest today is to enthuse all of you who are here um, into the huge potential which lies in this particular field. And this will come back, I think, a few times as I speak. That, just a few days ago, uh, on the 28th of this month in Delhi, we met two of the giants of the Indian IT industry. One of them, and both of them were pioneers. One of them was Mr. Harish Mehta, and the other one, of course, is our Mr. Saurav Srivastava. They together in the early 80s had conceived and started what was called NASCOM. And NASCOM was a very small organization. The combined turnover of the Indian IT industry was probably less than $50 million at that time. And few years later, when McKinsey had brought out a study, a 10-year perspective of where IT industry was going to go, even the most sort of enthusiastic believers in the cause of Indian IT industry couldn't believe that there was such a sort of big opportunity in front. And I must tell you that today, the Indian IT industry has far exceeded even those early predictions of made by McKinsey's study. And today, I think Indian biotech IT industry has about $250 billion of turnover, which is equivalent to, I believe, about somewhere around 8% of the Indian GDP. Now I'm making a statement here that going forward, and this will come back again in other people's views, that as I look at the Indian biotech, agri-tech, clean tech industry, I see the reflection of the same early 80s Indian IT industry. And I am going to say that we are going to, in the next 10 to 15 years, overtake every other startup or every other industry. And it is my belief that Indian biotech and related industries will achieve a combined turnover of $1 trillion. The first Indian industry combined which will do that, and which at that time, will be at least 10% of the Indian GDP. So we are talking about a phenomenal rise of the Indian biotech and related industries over the next 10 to 15 years. And we are all here to sort of do our journey together to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity which is there. And today I'm going to kind of just touch on some of the things. Some, first of all, the trends. And if you see in the chat box, we have dropped a few links on what are the major trends which are there in the biotech industry. And the very first one is about longevity is likely to be the next disruptor. Now, this particular article, which is already there in the chat box link, is written by Dr. Michael Roizen, who was the head of the famous American medical institution. Uh, he was the chief wellness officer at Cleveland Clinic. And Cleveland Clinic is the largest American medical establishment, save none. And what he has written is that scientific research on aging mechanisms is advancing like information technology did in the last decade exponentially. So much so that it's likely that longevity would be the greatest disruptor ever. Over the last 150 years, life expectancy at birth in the US increased from 41 years to 78 years. This gain in life expectancy since 1870 has occurred at a relatively straight line of about 2.5-year gain every 10 years. The gain in life expectancy was initially due to improvements in sanitation and infant health, and later because of improvements in management of chronic diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes. So now the best of the medical science is predicting that the life expectancy in the immediate future, in the next 10 to 15-year horizon, will rise to 115 years. And in the longer term, and you can read an article by Noel Hariri, yeah, who predicts that it'll go up to 150 years. So this is a huge disruptor, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the technologies because we are some of our Indian companies, that we are working with. They are working in some of these fields. And if you know the background that Mr. Yamanaka was a scientist who I think in the year 2008 got a Nobel Prize for pluripotent stem cells, and that kind of gave a huge jump to this whole science of longevity, anti-aging, etc. And as Divya has mentioned, my very first encounter in this field was a company that I kind of invested in, Decode Genetics, uh, and they were working in this particular field, and they got later on acquired for $800 million. So in this field of anti-aging and longevity, there are many technologies which are mentioned in this article. Because our time is short, I'm not going to go into it in detail, but one of them is gene editing, which you must have heard about. Stem cells, you must have already heard about. Uh, Telomere regeneration. So a lot of these you can read in the article so that we can move on to other topics. But the other thing that I wanted to also kind of, trends, which is happening, is what we call the $100 genome. There, I have also dropped this article in the chat box. You can go through it. It's a short one, but what it means is that, a few years ago, when I started my journey with Decode Genetics, doing genome sequencing, first of all, took a long time, and it cost a lot of money. Today, with the latest technologies we are talking about, we are not yet there, but we are talking about doing your entire genome sequencing for just $100. Now, what this is going to do is that it is going to predict what it does is that it predicts in healthy people, when they are genome sequenced, they discover they have a variant pointing to a heightened risk of developing a disease that can be monitored, treated, or prevented. So these are called genetic health markers. You must have heard about some of these things in the sort of popular reading, like BRCA genes is something which women, if they have in this thing, then they have a heightened sort of chance of getting a kind of cancer. And many people in the West have discovered this at an early stage and already have done preventive surgeries, etc., thus sort of solving the problem which would have occurred in later life. So this is again, genetic sequencing is going to be a disruptor, and you'd be happy to know that already in India, we are working with companies who are working in this field of genetic sequencing, etc. And we are also started, it is sort of gaining popularity, and and so we are there. The third thing that I have put in the sort of chat box is an article on global teledermatology. Now, what does global teledermatology mean? That means if you have a, and this can be used for other diseases as well. This article is only about teledermatology. What it means is that if you have any kind of dermatological problem, you can take a photograph of that with a good camera, and at the back end, there is an intelligent machine fed with data and fed with AI ML platform. And that can give you a predictive analysis of what the problem is. And this can be done uh, just through telemedicine kind of operation. This can be already, I mean, in the whole world, this is a great disruptor, but especially in India, where we don't have so much of facilities in the outlying areas, etc. We don't have proper diagnostic facilities. We this can come as a huge disruptor for the medical industry. Again, you will be happy to know that we are already in India talking to a company. They are not yet onboarded, but we are talking to a company who are working in this space, and they have achieved already 78% accuracy in the diagnostics that can do over this teledermatology space. And also, for your information, Google is working in this very field. And I'm told that Google is very soon going to come out with an app which will be performing the same function, and that they have achieved uh, 84% accuracy in this field. So this telemedicine, and not just for dermatology, but for many other applications, is going to happen and also create huge opportunities for those who are going to work in that field. I have last of all put one article about biotech valuations, you know, but biotech valuation is a kind of huge field because all valuations happen on the principle of what we call discounted cash flows, or we have to sort of calculate what the cash flows of a certain sort of vertical or a certain solution going to be 5 years from now when they complete the product is in the market and started generating traction. And then basis of that, with you generate valuation. But that's just one. Since we are talking about many other models of valuation, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to talk a little bit about some of the companies that we have onboarded, startups, and who are working in some of these areas which are disruptive that I've talked to in my first few minutes. So the first company that, and I'm going to be brief because the time is short. So the first company that I'm going to talk about is a company called Transcell Oncologics. And this is a more complicated example, more difficult example in terms of valuation, because this has three verticals. It is easiest, which we'll see in the next one. But if you have just one problem and one solution, and we know the roadmap, then valuation is easier. but here we are dealing with three verticals. So for each vertical, you have to take a call on what, when they're going to become sort of revenue generating, how much revenue potential they have. And based on that, you have to work out the valuations. So just quickly, this company, Transcell Oncologics, and let me tell you, all of these have huge potential. Huge potential. I'm not going to be speculative, but I'll talk about it as we go. So this has three verticals. The first vertical, as you can see, is to cure option for cancer subtypes and metastatic cancers. So just for your information, among the whole group of cancers, and there are thousands of different types of cancers, within each, like within blood cancer, hematology, there are maybe 50, 60 different types of cancers. So metastatic cancer is that which has the highest rates of kind of mortality. So out of all the cancers, there are some where already we have some solutions. Early detection solves the problem. Metastatic cancer is the one which has uh, very low, very high mortality. So any solution that can cure or work towards or find a solution for metastatic cancer can have, without any question, huge kind of valuation increase. The next vertical is what we call a comprehensive platform for hematopoietic stem cell transplantation in treating blood cancer. So I told you how Yamanaka got a Nobel Prize for this particular research, Gordon and Yamanaka. So the principle of this is that you can either use a patient who has a certain kind of blood cancer, you can use his own cells, or you can use somebody else's cells. You bring them to your lab, you process it, and make it what we call um, uh, pluripotent stem cells, and then you inject it back in the patient, and it regenerates. It kind of makes the old cells healthy again. That's the basic principle. And we already have in this vertical, this company already has traction. Can you do the next? Yeah. And so you can see it does leukemia, anemia, bleeding disorders, and many other. Next. So this is the chart which shows that this particular application, hematopoietic stem cells, has already got a lot of adoption in the Indian market, and some of these are big hospital groups, and these others are sets of sort of very well known doctors who are hemato oncologists. They have adopted it. We have next. We have a different sets of solutions. The highest solution, which is called HH01 to 06, it goes at a price of 9 lakhs. And we also have, we were talking about doing this genetic studies. So this company also has a product which does genetic sort of analytics, and that also has found a lot of adoption in the market. And I believe that in the next 1 or 2 years, it will go on a kind of a mass scale. You would be happy to know that some of the corporates, including Hero Group and many others, are adopting this as a part of their sort of employee benefit and social responsibility program. And as we speak, so this particular vertical already has a revenue generation, and we have a path for this revenue generation to go up over the next 1 or 2 years. So once you have some idea of what the revenue generation is, then it is very easy to work out a valuation based on that. And the third vertical, go, yeah, the third vertical. Okay, you go next. Yeah, yeah. So this is the third vertical, and this is a testing platform based on the chemistry developed by this company, and with intelligent AI ML platform. And the use of this is to test neurovirulence and neurotoxicity across vaccines and various other products. Right now, we are concentrating, this company is concentrating on vaccines because the use case for vaccine testing in the last 2-3 years has been huge. And this company, Transcell, has been in conversation with some of the largest vaccine manufacturers in India, who also happen to be some of the largest vaccine manufacturers in the world, as you know. And and they are sort of doing studies to kind of establish the validity of these products. This has already been used by one of the companies, Vince Biotech, but we are waiting for larger adoption. And once a large pharma company like like a Serum Institute or one of the large vaccine companies, international vaccine companies, adopts this platform, the valuation of this vertical itself can go into $100 million. Okay, so you can understand we invested in this company at a very nascent stage when they did not have this, all of these things developed. But in the last 2-3 years, they have come where their products are ready for adoption in the market, except for the very first vertical, where we'll need many more years of testing before we can find or even come close to a solution for metastatic cancer. But that can be $1 billion opportunity. But right now, what we have on the plate already, like this platform for testing, NeuroSafe is the name of our first platform. And also for this, there is now also a trend where biotech or agri-tech or all of these sciences have to work very closely with AI ML companies to bring out the real value, because it is data which has become very, very important. So we generate large amounts of data which is fed into the computer and it's populated. After that, we generate a platform here, and that platform then can do the testing. So the testing for neurovirulence and neurotoxicity is done with animal testing, as you know. And animal testing, as you see here, monkey neurovirulence and vaccine, this has been in practice for a long, long time. And now there are mandates from UN, there are mandates even in the international sort of pharma industry, that in the next few years, the world has to sort of do away with this cruelty on animals and do this testing on monkeys and on rabbits and so on. Millions of them are destroyed, and now we have an intelligent solution where just in the safety of a lab, we can do the neurovirulence testing. And as I said, that we are in conversation with some of the very large players in this space. And if we can make the first breakthrough, that will give a huge, huge 20x sort of increase in the valuation of that particular vertical, and it can be kind of spinned off as a separate vertical, and it can go to business by itself. So now I will go to the next company, Amoon Biosciences. Now this is a more simpler company to understand the valuation, because Amoon Biosciences, as you can see, is in the derma space. They're trying to find a solution for vitiligo. Next. So as of today, there is no cure for vitiligo. There is no approved drug for reversal of white patches, or I may just correct that just in the last month, one US company has been given a patent or has been given a clearance by FDA for a cure for vitiligo, but it comes with lot of sort of side effects. And so it is sort of equivalent to what we may call chemo in cancer. It does a lot of harm while it solves, it becomes life saving, but it leaves behind a lot of sort of. But the solution that we are working with Amun is without those side effects. We have successfully kind of, when we looked at it, of course, they were at the beginning of their animal testing, and we invested in that with a valuation of 55 crores. And how it works that they have to go through 2 or 3 phases in these kind of tests, which are called phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of drug testing, etc. They have completed their phase 1 successfully. And once they complete their phase 1 successfully, then the valuation of the company already goes up. Now, I'm not going to be speculative here because this is still proprietary information. But at this stage, a company like Amun will need to raise a large fund again to carry on and complete the phase 2. And for that, the first phase, they raised something in the range of 12 crores. And now the next phase, they will need to raise something like 30 crores or 40 crores. And I mean, all I can tell you is that most of the people who invested in the first round, which includes some really big names in the investment world, and some banks and so on, including, of course, IAN, it is likely that most of those investors will also invest in the next round. But again, since we are talking about the dynamics of deals, etc., when we raise the next round of funding, the people who invested in the first round cannot set the valuation. So the valuation for the next round of funding is always set by a new fund. So, like we invested in this company at a valuation of 55 crores, and next round of funding could be at a 3x or 4x of that because of their completing the phase 1 successfully. And as I said, that they already have soft commitments for more than 50% of their amount without even going to any funds so far. Most of those commitments are from the present set of investors. So you can see how the valuation can rise in this industry. I talked about that platform which Transcell is doing, and if that platform is adopted by big pharma, vaccine industry, the valuation can go by maybe for that particular vertical by 20x. Here we are talking about phase 1 completion successfully, and the valuation that we should expect um, conservatively should be something like 3x to 4x, depending on the market dynamics, etc. As you know, we have a little investment winter, but that said, if you have a good product and it has a good traction, it has a good sort of path, then there is no dearth of money even today. So I think this is the story of Amun, and Amun also has a wonderful set of sort of promoters, great scientists. We have a great set of advisors who have worked with some of the largest pharma companies in the world. And so they bring in, those are the intellectual properties which kind of bring value to pharma or companies like these, startup companies who are working on the cutting edge of technology. So that's second one. And now I'm going to come to another one. Next, Serigen. Yeah. So this is a third company where we have signed a kind of a term sheet with them. And by the way, Amun and Serigen both are based in Pune, and they both got uh, kind of incubated in the same place. Serigen is in a unique product. Next, this is a product company as opposed to a solution company in the case of Amun and in case of Transcell. This is a product company, and they have produced a product out of silkworm. Yes, the regular silkworm. They have found that silkworm, and this is patented. This particular product is patented in US, Europe, Japan, and this product fulfills the need in, again, the like when you have a bone loss, you've broken a bone or something, then a bone is grafted from your back and then grafted in this place where there is a bone loss. And sometimes people are not in a position to give their own bone. So this is the solution. This product is a perfect solution. It helps to bind the bones, and it doesn't you don't have to then need to graft bone from another part of your body. And one of their products, next, so here it is, you have a cavity you can fill up with this product, and it kind of binds the thing, and it doesn't sort of leave any scar, etc. It does this automatically. And one of their products, next, there you can see, they have already done a set of clinical trials at one of India's sort of very well-known hospitals, Sancheti Hospital in Pune, where this has been done. This test has been done under Dr. Chetan Pradhan. And they are now on the way to do the next larger round of trial. But while they're doing it, they have one product which has already got the clearance to bring it to the market. And that is this product that you can see here. And what it does is that, when you have wounds that don't heal easily or give out soft, this is used both for putting patches, like you can see here, for healing of wounds. This is used a lot for diabetic patients, etc. And it is also used, as you can see here, for support of soft tissue in breast reconstruction, etc. And this product has already been cleared by the authorities in India, and they have already started manufacturing this. They have already got a kind of a distributor from the derma space to bring it to the market. And so this company, again, you have where, like in the first company that we talked about in Transcell, they had 3 verticals. This company has related but 3 different products, and one product is ready to kind of start generating revenues. They've already set up a small manufacturing unit, and I think within the next few months they will start generating revenue. And that revenue then will help them to raise another round of funding, larger round of funding, 6 months or 1 year down the road. We have just kind of going through the process of kind of concluding a deal with them. And in this case, there were a number of people who wanted to invest in this company because, one, they're in a very interesting space, and their kind of product is nearly ready to come into the market, so that gives them that traction. And with the next round, they'll be able to carry on with their basic product, which is that that product from the silk protein, and that has a huge potential. So this again is another model. So this is a product model. So as I said, that there are three types of uh, deals which happen in the pharma space. One is the drug discovery, where you go through three phases of trials, and those are expensive. But again, just to give another idea why India will do very well in the next few years in drug discovery and the general biotechnology and related fields, is because the cost of doing R&D in India is far, far lower. People say it's 1/10 of doing the same kind of work in US or Europe. So to give you an idea, to bring one drug through its three phases, and then at the end of it, you may get a clearance from FDA or you may not get, but you spend billions of dollars. In India, if we can provide an opportunity to do similar kind of research at a much lower cost, then it is only natural that a lot of that work will come to India. And India has already seen in the last few years a lot of CROs, contract research organizations, and even some of the big players like Reliance and other groups have come and invested serious money in the CRO space. And so one other thing is that, biotech, agri-tech, all of these industries can research and development can only prosper if we have the entire value chain available at one place, for the testing opportunities and all the other, like for any drug discovery, you have to manufacture all the chemicals and compounds in a special facility which is called GMP, general manufacturing, which are accredited facilities by either FDA or the Indian equivalent of FDA. So all these other facilities have to be present for all these small startups to succeed. And slowly all these things are happening. So in India, there are kind of hubs, like Hyderabad is a hub, Pune is a hub, and other hubs. I mean, Bangalore has always been a hub of this kind of activity. Now, slowly, I think Gurgaon is developing, and more places will develop where biotechnology infrastructure will grow, and that will bring more biotechnology companies into the play. And I also want to tell you that how, I mean, quickly, that what are the Divya, how much time do I have?
So we were hoping to open the podium for Q&A.
Okay. Okay. So I'll take just 2-3 minutes and finish.
Sure.
That I have put an article on valuations, and valuations can be what we call idiosyncratic, because in biotech there are a lot of things that we assume when a company is doing a drug discovery and it's in very nascent stage. Nobody in this world can tell that at the end of their research they will succeed or not. I think my colleagues from BioAngels, if anybody is here, they will bear me out that they fund hundreds of companies who come with very, very good ideas, and it is there that they kind of advance their work to the level where we can take them on. So there is a lot of uncertainty. So there is a lot of space for judgment. We have to take calculated judgments on the team, the scientific quality of the team, advisors, etc., on the technology that they're working on, what are the chances of success, and of course, how likely are they to advance to the next stage. So sometime as a kind of seed stage investor what we are. If my company makes the next stage of development, like it goes from just research stage to early adoption stage, or goes from uh, beginning to completing phase one of the trial, or one of the verticals gets adopted, then the valuation already will go up by couple of times. So here, because most of the biotech applications that we are talking about, in fact, all of them that we talked about today, they all have uh, global markets. Of course, to bring any drug that we talked about today to the US market, we have to go to FDA and do some parallel runs with them. But once we have done that test in India, etc., that becomes an easier journey. But I don't want to kind of sound that it is an easy journey. But if we all who are here on this, if we are curious, if we are ready to learn, then this becomes easy. We can take intelligent calls, and most of the calls that we have made so far in this field have shown great promise. And I'm sure that out of the companies that we talked about, at least I think most of them are showing very, very sort of high early promise of adoption and moving into the large sort of international market. We are with some of these companies, we are talking to large international pharma companies also for adoption. And there is one other company, I'll take just 1 minute to kind of make the business case for that, the green pod. Yeah, because we are covering in our discussion today also agri-tech, so I wanted to bring one agri-tech company that we are working with, one of the agri-tech companies, and it is called Green Pod Labs. Next. And Green Pod Labs is working in one of the most important areas, problem areas for India. They're working in minimizing food and fruits losses. In India, as you can see, 40% of fruits and vegetables in India are lost before reaching the consumer. And Greenpod Labs, through its technology, which also uses some of the same chemistry that we talked about in biotech, they are trying to do the shelf life extension for fruits and vegetables. So we started with talking about shelf life extension of humans, anti-aging through all this technology. And here is a company which is doing pioneering work in doing shelf life extension for fruits and vegetables. This is a huge problem area globally, but more so for India, where farmers, after having worked so hard for the whole year, they lose out because they have no way to, no cold chains, etc. And this company is trying to do shelf life extension. We expect that in the next kind of 1 year or 2 years, they will have great adoption, not just in India, but in many other countries in the world. They're already talking to African countries. They're talking to some companies in the Far East, etc. Everybody, in the developing world needs to kind of deal with this problem. So they're dealing with a problem like this. Again, we have invested in this company at a very nascent stage, at a very good valuation based on, what we took. And now we believe that if this company gets early adoption, they've already started, but at when they reach a little kind of level, then this company itself will have opportunity to go into the market and raise a large funding round and then go global. So this is, I think, in short, where I want to stop, and then come and sort of have the question answer session and answer the questions which are here in the question answer.
Thank you so much, sir, for
Yeah.
this enriching session, sharing your perspective and insights while navigating us through your experiences and investment in biotech sector. Thank you so much for this. Moving on to the Q&A, the first question that we have is how is the approach to valuation in biotech startup different from that of other sectors?
Okay. So in other sectors, I think that we have dealt with, there is a little bit more focus on the on the kind of monetization of those particular businesses. So for most businesses that we have dealt with outside of biotech, I think we look at companies who are in early traction stage, whereas in biotech you have to make a lot of intelligent assumptions, because like Amun, that company which I talked about, I think from the time we have invested to the time when their product actually comes into the market, there is a 5 year of gap, and they go through these trials of by fire, the phase one, phase two trials. And at each of those trials, they have to adopt, they get the exact kind of solutions, which then will be either cleared or not cleared. If they're cleared, then they move into the next round, and the valuation goes up 5, 10 times, and
Right.
even foreign companies want to come. So we have had that interest also. Once they finish their phase one successfully, we already have interest from some derma companies in India, derma companies overseas, who want to see what they're doing, and they want to invest something with an option that once they finish their phase two successfully, they will have a right to come and buy a larger share in the same company. So that is where the difference is. Here we have to work initially with a lot of intelligent assumptions. There is no way, like in all the three companies that we talked about, the Transcell, Amun, and Serigen, at the early stage, it will be difficult to predict the results. We can only make a very intelligent assumption based on the technology, how appropriate, how adaptable that technology is. We have to also see what kind of team that they have, what kind of advisors they have, and understand what are the chances. So it is definitely in the early stages, as I said, that traditional valuation is based on discounted cash flows. You have to assume how much a certain company is going to generate revenue, and based on that, you kind of work backwards and then set the valuation. In this case, it will be, yes, you can take assumptions on what kind of valuation it will have. Like a vitiligo, if it is successful, we can take a call on what kind of sort of sales or adoption it will have in India, what kind of sales and adoption it will have outside. But more so, as I think, these kind of companies get taken over. Okay, they get bought out. And also, like I again, for reasons of confidentiality, cannot make those definitive statements. But when a company finishes a phase one or shows results, then a large player for the pharma world will come and say, I will fund your entire phase two, uh, which even in India can cost 30, 40 crores. They'll say, I will fund the entire phase two, but in return, I want so much share and a right to buy more in future. So as investors, if our company uh, progresses to the next level, I think we have an opportunity for exit. Of course, we can
Right.
choose to stay in and go the whole length, because if they succeed in the end of three-phase round or second phase or whatever, then we get a much, much bigger opportunity. But we get even chances earlier than that to kind of cash out or monetize.
Absolutely, sir. Next question is around longevity.
Yes,
Hi there. Any longevity-based startups in India? Are BioAngels currently investing or looking forward to invest in aging research?
of course. Aging research is one of the most promising areas in the biotech universe. And there are funds, they're not yet, I mean, there are funds who are looking at India. I can tell you there is a fund in, there are many funds, but I am in touch with one called Apollo based in Germany. They only fund anti-aging companies. Okay. And so yes, there are anti-aging is a very promising field, and there are companies who work in anti-aging who are ready to fund anti-aging, and there are many companies abroad who are looking at Indian companies also to fund. And of course, BioAngels is a pioneer. BIRAC is a pioneer. BIRAC, as I said, has funded hundreds of startups, with the assumption, again, intelligent assumption that they will succeed, or many of them will succeed. Um, and they have succeeded. There are so many companies that we have funded. They all came initially through the BIRAC sort of route. So so Amun came from BIRAC route. Uh, Green Pod Lab that I showed, they came from BIRAC route. Sarijan that I showed, they came from BIRAC route. So at that stage, they have all taken intelligent assumptions on the technology. They have taken intelligent assumption on the quality of the promoter, etc. But to answer your question, definitely for promising companies working in anti-aging, there is enough interest both in India and outside India.
Thank you, sir, for answering that. Next question is, do you think patenting has an impact on investor valuing a startup high? How can an angel investor value a startup? I think that this is already discussed. And how can he deep dive in understanding how it is to be valued?
Yeah, so patenting certainly has value. Patenting means that your technology is not going to be copied. So as I mentioned, there must be 500 companies or maybe more who are working all over the world only in the cancer research field. You know, in India itself, there are probably 100 companies working on different parts of cancer problem. So some of them are working towards the same problem using the same approach. So when you have a patent, then you at least have a way to protect your IP. And it also for investors, it gives some validation that this has been checked by another independent authority, and you have done some unique and original work. So as I had shown you, many of I mean, between the three biotech companies, and if I add even Green Pod Lab, they must be having, I think, maybe 30 or more patents. And as I showed you, they have patents from multiple domains, means multiple geographies. Like Sarijan, I remember off the top of my head, has their patent India, US, Japan, EU. Same with Transcell, they have some patents in US, some in India, some in other domains. Of course, there is always this dilemma for a startup. A patent, when you apply in US or Europe, you have to spend a decent amount of money to apply and follow through. So some of the early stage startups in these fields would find it difficult to go and apply for a patent in US. But once they raise their first round, the first thing that we advise them to do is to file a patent in the US or Europe, etc. It also gives them that sense where they can then talk to foreign investors also, and they can understand that this company has been validated with a patent in their country or in US or in Europe, etc.
Right,
And the
right.
second question was around valuation. How do you
Yeah,
deep dive?
yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned, how do you deep dive? You have to see how big the problem this company is solving. Are they unique, or are there many other companies working in that domain? So, like I said, in the case of Amun, vitiligo is a problem that we know from our own studies. Uh, there is no solution. One company has just in the last month got a FDA clearance, but that company has, that particular solution has a lot of side effects. So as I gave the example of chemotherapy for cancer, it solves the problem but not completely. It does a lot of damage on the body. So as far as vitiligo is concerned, Amun has a solution which is almost unique at this point in the whole world. So when what Amun is doing is in the kind of radar of a lot of large derma companies in the world. Okay, so European derma companies or even US derma companies, and of course, some large pharma companies in India are looking with great interest at how Amun's research with phase one to phase two is moving. And I'm quite sure that once they start phase two, they will monitor it very, very closely. And at the right time, they will want to come in, invest an amount which gives them the right to kind of you know get the distribution rights in the end, etc. So what happens typically in the Western pharma universe is that a lot of original research is done by small boutique research companies. And then between phase two to phase three, the large pharma has these scouts going through all these companies, and they look at companies and where they find promising, they will go and they'll pay them a royalty of 50 million, 100 million, and they take a kind of guarantee that they will finance their phase two or phase three, and in return they want to have the distribution rights for that product, and they give a royalty to this company. Also, because uh, boutique companies that we are talking about, like even Amun, they're not going to be able to sell kind of medicines for vitiligo around the world. So that only a large company who has distribution network, etc., will be able to do. So these companies will come and they'll make an offer at the right time. So in the beginning, as I have said before, uh, we have to make intelligent assumptions on the value of the work that is happening. How deep is the research? How unique it is? Are there 10 players out of which somebody else could come with the same solution before you? This has happened many times in field of drug discovery. So you have to make all those kind of things when you're doing the deep dive.
Absolutely. Plus, through BioAngels, we also have access to domain experts through
Yes,
BIRAC, and that would actually help the investors to understand the science behind the value
absolutely.
proposition and product.
Absolutely, Divya. If I may add that even we, not even before even BioAngels was conceived. So when we were looking at vitiligo, for example, Amun, we went to we went to BIRAC, and we had their experts, who specialize in the derma
Right.
field. I know those people now. um, they came and we had discussions, and they told us exactly what the potential was, what were the pitfalls, you know, uh, etc. So we had deep conversations with domain experts. We are not domain experts, we have learned in the field by investing in many
Investing.
companies,
Right.
and then learning from there. We have deep curiosity, so we study and understand, but we are not domain expert. Domain experts are either lying in organizations like BIRAC, or some of these companies, have taken domain experts of highest quality as their on their advisory board.
Advisory board, right?
Yeah,
Yes, sir. I mean, this is how IN and BioAngels are operating to, make the investor, make this entire journey of angel investment for angels also easier
absolutely.
through, reaching out to advisors, domain experts, because like you mentioned, I mean, not everybody is a domain expert and not
Yes, yes,
everybody understands the science.
absolutely.
And it is
We
very
use
important.
that all the time. I mean, I'm just diverting a little bit. Recently, we were looking at a company which is working in the same metastatic cancer field. I mentioned that Transcells Vertical One is also supposed to be working on metastatic cancer. It's one of the most acute problems in the within the cancer sort of malady. Now this company was working at solving the problem of metastatic cancer. They were technologies that we frankly don't understand completely. So we went to Tata Memorial and we got hold of the sort of expert there who works in that very field. He is a domain expert. We went, we had deep conversations with him, and of course, various other people. There are maybe even some people who are attending this call who are domain experts who may have joined because somebody told me they are coming. And we consulted. So, for most of the companies where we invest in the biotechnology or where, in agri-tech or clean tech, we are not totally kind of experts. We go to these people, and
Right,
we are not one person who makes this determination.
right,
We have about 3 or 4 experts. We put our heads together and then go to experts, have conversations, come back. So it's a distillation of a lot of different sort of capabilities that we take in.
right,
We also have, by the way, which I have not emphasized much, but we take financial experts in each of our sort of groups that do the evaluation. So
right.
I have, for dearth of time, I have not gone into deep this thing, but we have many CFOs in our groups, who have deep expertise in finance. They do the discounted cash flows. They know every conventional way of valuing a company. So we take their expertise as well. So whatever we get in the end is a sort of combined distillate of all these different brains working together.
Right, right. And this is, I mean, how everybody networks and learns through each other's experience and
Absolutely.
network. So,
Absolutely. And
yes,
also, we are, so one of my other friends in US, they have written a book recently, and we have a collaboration with this US company called Automata Pi, and they work for AIML for pharma industry, which is a very, very important field to progress of pharma industry now, pharma research. So they have taken out a book, written a book now, AIML plus your own instincts. They have used a certain word, but whatever we learn, human brain, we also like AI ML machine is sort of populated with all the information. Human brain is also constantly being populated with all the information that we gather, learn. So when sometimes we say it's a hunch, or I have a feeling, or this is my judgment, it's not just that. It is based on all the accumulated knowledge that you have gathered within. So when you are judging, all your neural networks are working over time to understand and go through all this different bits of information which is lying there.
that's true, sir. That's absolutely true. Due to the paucity of time, we'll be taking just one last question because we
Sure.
have already exceeded the time. This is what's the ticket size for angel round and what's the general ROI expectation for the angel investment?
Okay. So ticket size, for example, if you join a BioAngel kind of a platform, then the ticket size for each investment is a commitment of 5 lakhs, but you don't always get the allocation that you have applied for. Quite often, many of our deals get hugely oversubscribed, in which case you get only proportionate amount. But when you commit, your minimum commitment is for 5 lakhs per transaction, means
Per
per deal,
investor,
per
per
deal,
startup.
yeah,
Yeah.
per startup. Now, what is the amount that startups generally raise in our Indian angel networks? I would say there are 2 or 3 different buckets, but in the first bucket, I would say that amount is between 4 and 5 crores. So if like Amun, for example, I can give you numbers. They raised from us about 5 or 5.5 crores. Transal raised about 5.5 crores, and they have raised several other rounds also with us. But some of these companies have raised from other co-investors. So when Amun raised their money, they had 2, 3 others. There is a company called Idea Spring from Bangalore. They also invested 5.5 crores. So if a company's proposition is very attractive, like it was in case of Amun, they in the very angel round can raise about 15 crores. You know, and now, as I said, that because they've cleared their phase 1, the same investors have already committed to to a fair amount of money. I'm not at liberty to mention that, but all the soft commitment has come from the existing investors. So quite often, existing investors go and invest in the next round also.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. This was the last question.
So I think what I will request that Divya, if you can share my email with all the people who have come, and if they have any questions, they can either convey through you, or I'll be happy to answer them in the next few days. Yeah, I can
Sure,
connect
sir.
with them also.
Sure. I'll just
And
share
if
the.
anybody wants to get any advice on how to join BioAngels, how to invest, etc., I'm there and will be happy to help anybody.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir, for this enriching session and taking out time and effort to share your wonderful perspective on the topic with us. For anybody who wants to join BioAngels network or apply for funding to BioAngels, can write to us. Write to me at divya@bioangels.vc. I'll just put down my email ID in the chat box, and I'll also mention Uday sir's email ID. So in case anybody wants to get in touch with him, you can directly get in touch, or you can write to me and I can help you get in touch.
Okay. Thank you everybody for joining and staying on for this session. I hope you got something, and we'll be happy to sort of carry on with the conversation, and if you are willing to travel, we'll travel with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Please stay tuned for our last session that would be happening next week. We'll keep you posted with the details. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.